Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I'm proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. And in the process of my investigation, I'm also saying that Macaulay Culkin is the most likely candidate for Paris Jackson's father. I think he is her father, but it's a thing I don't have the level of actual proof because I don't have all of the history of evidence that's been put aside, because you've got Michael Jackson and Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson, the Motown, you know, all the Jacksons' careers. They had so much evidence that there was a lot of stuff for me to go back and look and find that evidence, right? Where the Paris Jackson and Macaulay Culkin is still more of a thing that's occurring in our modern time and stuff. So it's not like I have this whole backlog of evidence to go look through and stuff, right? So that's the difference. That's the difference where I say for sure Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's mother, and I prove it because I've got tons of real evidence and stuff, right? So the Macaulay Culkin thing, I say, yeah, he is her father, but I don't have the actual hardcore evidence like I have with my Diana Ross. So I still will give a little bit of slack on that and say I could be wrong. It's possible and stuff, right? But in the telling of my story, people that know Michael Jackson understand that Michael Joseph or Michael Joe Jackson, whatever his middle name is, it's not important whether it's Joe or Joseph. It's not really that big of an issue. The important thing is it's Joe. It's a Joe name, okay? And so the Jacksons, Joseph Jackson, that's the father, okay? So Joseph Jackson, as a man, if you want to put your name on a child, you're going to put it probably on your first boy. If not your first, your second. Like if your name is any importance to you as a man to carry on your name in one of your children, you're going to put it on one of your first boys. But he didn't do that. His name's not on. None of his kids are named Joseph. You know, there's no Joseph Jackson Jr. That didn't happen. Okay, so that right there shows you that the significance of placing his name on one of his children's to carry on his name was not important to Joseph Jackson. But then when you look at the names of the children, you can clearly tell that the names were thought of. They were thought about. And in a marriage like with Joseph and Catherine, it's totally reasonable to say that Joseph and Catherine had discussions of what their children's names would be before that Catherine gave birth to the kids. It's like, are you actually going to tell me that they didn't have discussions of what their kid's name was going to be before she gave birth? Okay, they obviously would have, and in the process of that, Joseph never put his name on any of his children. Now we get to Michael, the kid that I'm saying is the different one, that there's something different about that. So when I'm saying there's different, what happens, you go and you look at the real evidence, and then what you'll see is that the evidence shows you it's different right from the beginning. Michael's got the name Joseph in there. And Catherine is stating that Catherine's mother gave Michael the name Michael. So right there, you're talking about two incredibly odd occurrences happening right around the birth of Michael Jackson. And it's like, was one of these things, I'm not making this up. These are the things that I discovered through the process of my investigation. Michael, I say, is not their kid, and because of that, what happens is when you do the investigation, you're going to find out, because he's not the kid, there's going to be differences. There's going to be things that stand out. And what happens right when he's born, they say, like, let's just talk about in the movie An American Dream, right? And they say Catherine's mother saying, I want to name the kid. And it's like, okay, so you're going to tell me Joseph Jackson. We all know Joseph Jackson is the strong father figure, a stern male, like alpha male type of man, right? So Catherine and Joseph never discussed the naming of their children, and Catherine's going to allow her mother just to name the kid Michael on a whim? That is like absurd. And that's what I'm telling you. Look at right from the birth of what I say with Michael. These things started happening instantly. Like when Michael's the one with the talent at 5 years old, and then Joseph decides to trust his family. He decides, I'm going to start a band with this kid. And it's like he didn't trust any of the other kids, which shows you that Joseph was not what's known as like a stage father, like a stage mother, stage father. He's not a person saying, my kid's got talent. Doesn't matter if they got talent or not. A person that's like a stage parent says, my kid's the best. Doesn't matter if their kids are the best or not. They're always thinking, my kid's the best. But Joseph was never going out on tour with his other kids, which shows you that he was not like a stage father. And Joseph, being the person he was, he's not the kind of person to be saying, my kid's the best, my kid's the best. He wasn't that kind of person, which is that's what they try and get you to believe. But when you look at the reality, he was not doing those acts with his children, which shows you that, and he's a mean guy. He's a mean guy who doesn't believe in the talent of his kids. That's why he worked them so hard, because he never trusted them and shit, right? But Michael, at 5 years old, when Michael shows he's got real talents, for some reason, Joseph decides to trust this kid and say, we're going to go on the road. We're going to make a band. Okay, so he trusted his family's future on the abilities of a 5-year-old kid, which is not in the nature of Joseph, and it doesn't follow in the patterns of what Joseph was actually doing. That's what I'm saying, is everything of what you're going to see shows that there's different things. Like Michael's got superior talent. None of those kids, they can't sing and dance like Michael. It's different. And it always shows up different because my story's true. Michael is not part of the Jackson family. Michael is actually given to them from his real parents, Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. So I believe that Diana named Michael Michael. Then the Joseph, it's up for discussion exactly how it happens, but it makes sense that they would put the name Joseph in there because they need to cover up that they just did something wrong. And Michael's not part of the family. So how do you cover that up? Well, you put Michael's name, or you put Joseph's name as Michael's middle name. That links up Michael to the Jackson family. Now you've got a connection through the name. That's part of the cover-up. That's how they covered it up and stuff. And when they tell the story of it, you can see that that's a cover-up is what they're telling you. It's a cover-up story. And it shows it in the evidence of what's there. It shows it's a cover-up. So when Michael Jackson, he has his first two kids, or let's just talk about Prince first, okay? So Michael's going to have a kid that's not his kid. And see, Michael, he knows the history of his name, that his name being Michael Joseph Jackson, he knew that that was a it was a powerful name to connect him to the Jackson family, and that's what cinched the cover up. It just sealed it, you know, with his name there. Nobody really could get past that. So Michael now, when he's going to have kids, he's going to have white kids. And so what does he do for the cover up? And this is what I'm saying. You'll see the same patterns, the patterns of what Michael was raised with. He then followed in those same patterns because now Michael has a kid that's not his kid. The kid's white, Prince Michael Joseph Jackson Jr. So what does he do? He's going to have a white kid, but so that's why Michael puts his name. And think about the reality. Michael, the one person in the whole world that he talked bad about the most is Joseph Jackson. But for some reason, he's going to honor Joseph Jackson by putting Joseph Jackson's name on his children. And when you go look at all the other Jackson kids, they didn't do that. There's like a, maybe out of the T3 band, Tito's kids, you know, that the Taj Jackson is one of them. And then there's like the TJ, I think it's Tito Joseph Jackson, something like that. But that's like the only place where you really find Joe's name anywhere, like out there and stuff. It's not like those kids are all named Joseph Jackson. None of the kids are named. It's just not there. But Michael, the one guy who talked bad about Joseph the most, what does he do? On the first child that he has, which is going to be the child of the King of Pop, he names the kid Prince Michael Joseph Jackson Jr. So he puts the same name of what they gave him. He then honors them by putting that name on his first child. But what he's actually doing is he's using the same cover-up skill and the scam of what they did with him when he was born by putting that Joseph in there. Michael then follows in that same techniques and puts it on Prince because he's doing a cover-up. And you can see the patterns follow in line with the same patterns, right? So then I think that Macaulay Culkin is Paris Jackson's father. So Michael had another white kid, but now he gets the Macaulay Culkin because Macaulay Culkin was old enough. He was able to get a sperm donation. It's like he doesn't need to go and send Macaulay to a doctor, a sperm clinic, and get it. It's not done that way. He just gets it and gives it to Dr. Klein, and they handle it with the private doctor that they're dealing with. You know, it's done in much more privacy. So people are like, oh, they think that, oh, Macaulay went to like a sperm clinic, you know, and gave a sperm donation properly. And it's like, no, he didn't do it that way. He would have been able to get him to get it and give it to his private doctors, everything in secret and stuff, because Michael was powerful enough to be able to do that. But that's why you always hear Paris Jackson, when she's a little girl, she's saying, I want to be an actress. That's because Michael was telling her she's going to be an actress because she's white, and her real father is Macaulay Culkin, an actor, one of the greatest child actors of all time. That's why Michael's breeding into her to go into acting because her father is Macaulay Culkin. That's like how that stuff generates that way and shit, right? So when I'm telling the story about Paris Jackson, that she's not Michael Jackson's child, a lot of the people out there try and say to me, oh no, they say, yeah, she's Michael's child, and then they say, she looks like Halsey. They try and say, you can be white, you can have a black father and you can be white, and they say, look at Halsey. This is the number one person, the person that they will bring into the conversation. They'll say, look at Halsey. And it's like, okay, well, you're talking about Halsey as an adult. So it's like, okay, well, look at this now. Okay, so there's Paris, right? And now, there's Halsey. Shit. Damn. Oh my God. Okay, so there's Halsey, right? Now, Halsey, she's got a white complexion and stuff, right? But you can see the genes of her father being a black man in her hair, in her dark eyes, and her dark curly hair. It's not a full-on afro, but it's curly and it's dark. You can see the essence that, and when you put her next to her father, it looks like, okay, that's his kid. He's got a mixed kid. The mom's white, and that's her kid. It looks right. Okay? Just because she grew up and turned into a pop star and did different things with her hair and colors it and does all this different stuff, that doesn't take away from the reality of what she looked like when she was a kid. Now, that kid does not look like that kid. They do not look alike. So right there, any of the people that are bringing Halsey into the argument about Paris Jackson having a mixed race of lineage of black father and a white mother, well, Halsey has a black father and a white mother, and that's what she looks like as a baby. That's what a mixed baby looks like. That looks like a mixed baby. That's a white baby. Michael Jackson is not her father. And like I say, Macaulay Culkin is her father. So there's Macaulay Culkin and his brother. So now, Paris, like I said, you got Debbie Rowe is brought into the scene, so there's some different family lineage. It's not the identical blood. But now let's just say if you had a picture of Macaulay Culkin and his brother, and then it's like they said, oh, and he's got a baby sister, and if they showed you that picture, you would say, oh yeah, that's Macaulay's younger sister. She would fit perfectly into that family. You couldn't put Paris and say that they had the same parents as Halsey. You would say, no, they don't have the same parents. That's not possible. You'd be like, no, they're definitely not, they don't look alike at all, you know? Just because their skin's kind of similar, you think they look alike? Hell no. You would be like instantly, no, those two kids, they do not look alike. That kid does not look like that kid. But this kid, you could put her right into that family. That's where she comes from. Paris Jackson is actually the child of Macaulay Culkin. Paris Jackson is white. Michael Jackson's first two kids are white. BG/blanket, that's up for discussion. That's, that can be talked about. I'll welcome any discoverance and real evidence that wants to peer into that. That's a different story. But the first two kids are white, there's no doubt about it, and the most likely candidate for Paris Jackson's family lineage comes from Macaulay Culkin.